Oh yeah, you are in the Email Mojo Dojo with Travis Sago, and I am so happy you're here. Everybody's here on time and even early. That's awesome. I am so thankful and grateful and thrilled and honored to have you guys here. A lot of people want to do some awesome things with their business and life, but not everybody shows up, and here you are. So super cool. Let's roll into some housekeeping. First, what I'm going to do is I have everybody muted right now. I'll probably stay muted until the Q&A, but I do want to just unmute you for a second and make sure that everybody can hear me okay. So everybody is ungagged now. If you can hear me, just give me a shout out there.
Yo, can you hear you?
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Super cool. So I'm going to gag you again. There we go. And let's just roll in a little bit of housekeeping real quick. I know housekeeping is never very fun. It's kind of like one of those chores you got to do. But I don't know if you're familiar with Instant Teleseminar, which is the service that we're using. I think it'll be helpful for you. Most of the time we'll stay muted during the training section, and then at the end we'll unmute and do some Q&A, brainstorming, whatever you guys need to do in order to get your email mojo on. I picked Instant Teleseminar, even though it's kind of more of a dinosaur type method of delivery, because it has some unique advantages that I like and it's worked really, really well for me. One of those is you don't have to focus on a screen the whole time, and this gets you interactive as well. So part of the housekeeping is when you come to the calls, it'd be really, really helpful if you come with a way to draw. We're going to have some frameworks that we're using, so we need to be able to draw circles and a triangle for this particular session, and that'll kind of get you involved in the whole process as well. So these frameworks are frameworks you use over and over and over and over again to help you in your email marketing and email mojo, as well as just marketing in general. So pen and paper and a way to draw. If you can draw, if you have one of the fancy screens where you can draw on it, on your computer, that's awesome. We will be moving fast. Starting today, you guys will start writing some email. It'll be more like being on a tricycle or maybe a bicycle with training wheels, and you'll be a little bit shaky and floppy, but that's totally okay. We're going to get you moving really, really fast here. One of the things I want to point out here is that you guys will have some, step-by-steps and some sequencing. But part of the reason why I can do a workshop or work with somebody for a very small period of time and they have massive results with their email, or just in general, is because we really, as Mojo men and Mojo women, we work off of insights and understanding. Once we can have an insight, a shift in how we look at something, things are never the same. Flat world versus round world. They used to think that disease was spread by smell, and then they learned disease was spread by germs. That had a big, huge impact on the medical industry. People quit dying on the operating tables, and it was as simple as throwing away all the flowers and the roses and the posies and washing your hands before a surgery. So one of the things I really endeavor to do is I come at things with different angles, with different metaphors, and really want you to get an understanding more so than the step-by-step. So understanding insights, paradigm shifts over the step-by-step. When we move into the Q&A, just so you know, you can always mute yourself on your end, on your device, but when I unmute everybody, when I ungag everybody, you can do a *6 to mute yourself. If you're trying to talk and nobody hears you, *7 will unmute you. So I think that is about the housekeeping for right now. If for some reason I guess there's a couple other points. If we get disconnected, it's probably just my Dixie cup and string they use here in Arkansas. Sometimes my telephone connection is not so great. I use AT&T, but we have some challenges out here sometimes. It doesn't happen often, but if you should lose me, just hang tight and I'll be dialed right back in with you. And also I try to keep this as PG-13 as I possibly can. But I like to have some fun. I have a junior high sense of humor. And when I get excited, I have a tendency to cuss a little bit, but I try to keep that on the down low. But when I get really, really excited, I do end up cussing a little bit. But so just some fair warning, hopefully, because you're listening in the house, I know there may be some kids listening and such. So I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way. I will try to keep it on the down low for sure, though. So awesome. Let's roll right into this. There's two things we're going to be covering today. One is I'm going to be giving you an overview of the course, which is also called the Circle of Money. And it's also a tool that we'll be using, going back to over and over again. It helps us troubleshoot our email marketing as well as any marketing. It helps us troubleshoot cash flow problems in our business. But it also is going to provide a great outline or a great overview of what we're going to be covering in the course. And then we're going to be going over what I call the triangle of insight. The triangle of insight is going to be, it's kind of like the stance in karate. It's like the foundational stance that we use where most of the plays are done from, most of our kicks and punch and everything from the stance. So the better our stance is, the more comfortable we get with the stance, the better I don't like to use martial arts really as an example for marketing because I think it's something that we do side by side with somebody, not as an opposition to somebody. But it's going to give you a foundation to do all of your email stuff from. But one of the things that you're going to see a lot of today and going on is we're going to do a lot of myth busting. I'm not going to do all the myth busting up front. You're going to see that a lot of myths about marketing, about sales, about email marketing, how you should do subject lines that I hate to use the word right or wrong, but typically doesn't make the money flow. So anytime I see a big area where it's a myth, I'm going to call that out and do some myth busting. And I want to start out with one big myth right now. A lot of folks come here, I say come here for my live workshops or when I work with somebody one-on-one and they think, hey, you know what? I need to learn how to write better. I need to learn how to write better emails, right? If I could get my copywriting up to snuff, then I'd be making a whole lot of money. Now, I've made a lot of money with copywriting, but I want to look at this, and again, in a different way, with a different paradigm shift. And so we're going to learn how to do a little better writing, but that's really just going to be a small fraction of it. So let's go back to yesteryear, back when before the internet and when they did mail order. Mail order folks used to buy lists. And they would send out mailers to the list, whether it was catalog mailers or whether it was snail mail. But they would buy lists, they would send mail to lists, and they would make sales or get phone calls from the list. And a lot of really smart direct mail marketers or direct marketers at the time made some real big discoveries as it comes to sales success. One of the big discoveries that they made was that 60% of their sales success, I'm emphasizing sales, but 60% of their sales success was just in the list that they rented, purchased, or were using. I'm not going to get into a big, long thing about which are the best lists, but typically, obviously, customer lists were the best, and then it kind of went down the ranks. But we really want to keep a focus on 60% of our sales success is the list that we are serving. Now, don't get panicky if you're not too happy with your list, or maybe you are happy with your list, because the other 30%, or the next 30%, not the other 30%, it was not writing either. It was the offer that you made or that you are making to your list. So 90% of the sales success has to do with who it was and the offer that you're making. Now, the beautiful thing about that is that one offer can be positioned many, many, many different ways. We have a tendency of thinking that we can only position an offer one way, and this really limits the amount of conversions that we have. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this right now because we're totally going to get deep, deep, deep into this. But what I want you to understand right now is 90% of your sales success doesn't have anything to do with the actual writing. And for a lot of my students and clients, this has been a real breath of fresh air, because if they didn't feel like great writers, at least some opportunity for them to do really great, right? And not to focus so much on, oh, if I say this word or that word, is going to make this big, huge difference in just one particular email. Now, I know you're thinking, I know about split testing, and one headline or one word can make a difference. That's when we get down to the sales side. But we're going to back it up to the marketing side. And one word, one line in a particular email over the course of time isn't going to make that much of a difference. But I do want to talk about the 10% that is the writing, right? The 10% of the sales success that is writing. Because it would be foolhardy for me to say, oh, you know, my heart only takes up 10% of my body, so it's not that important. It should be completely ignored. That would be pretty dumb. But we, as Email Mojo, men and women, we're going to look at the words in a completely different way. We look at the words and what we're doing as emotional payoff for bonding, and so people want to continue getting our messages. And that has nothing to do with massive amounts of content. Absolutely nothing to do with massive amounts of content. It could be one of the myths that we break. But this is the biggest myth that I want to break right in this moment, is that the myth that we have to be this amazing copywriter, that we have to go to school for many, many, many years or study many different materials to be this amazing copywriter. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against it. I have a breakthrough advertising. I read copy. I really, really enjoy it. I just look at it in a different light and a different perspective. So I kind of want to pound this point home a little bit because it's so important. One of the things that I do, is like, if you sell pork sandwiches, let's say you sell pork sandwiches, you have a pork sandwich stand. Tell me what words you're going to use to convince a Jewish vegetarian to buy your pork sandwiches. Jewish vegetarians don't like pork sandwiches. Now, as we get deeper into the course, if a Jewish vegetarian were maybe on a 14 days without eating, they might consider it, right? We're going to talk about the hunger of the market and such. But as a general rule, there's no amount of words that you're going to string together that's going to entice, persuade a Jewish vegetarian to eat a pork sandwich. But if you come to my neck of the woods here in Arkansas, and I'm just so you know, I'm not a big sports guy, so it's weird because I use a lot of sports metaphors. I'm not a big sports guy, but we root for the Razorbacks. We call them the Hogs out here. Our college team, we don't have a pro team, is the Hogs. So everybody drives up to Fayetteville, and they watch the Hogs play, whether it's football or basketball, or we even have a baseball team. But let's say we took our barbecue stand to a Razorbacks game. What do Arkansans like? Well, we love barbecue, right? So if we had a cardboard sign, we could probably attract people with 3 letters, BBQ. Put that up, we're probably going to attract some hungry people. If we improve the offer, not necessarily the words, right underneath barbecue, BBQ, we might put the word beer, right? Now we could say cold beer, frosty beer, all kinds of different things, and that might help marginally, but better is just to improve the offer, right? Barbecue, beer. What's another thing that we like? We love all you can eat, right? So if we put all you can eat under barbecue and beer, boy, that's now you've got a little line standing out there. We also like babes, so we have barbecue, beer, all you can eat, and babes. Just be careful where you put that all you can eat in relation to babes, because that that might not go right. But my point is, if we got our timing right, if we're making the right offer to the right person at the right time, timing is crucial and very the overlooked part in marketing. The words are just a fraction of what we need to manipulate, move, massage in order to make a sale happen. Very often I use the phrase or the idea that if you're at a Star Trek convention and you have a signed poster from Leonard Nimoy or William Shatner's phone number, it's not going to be very hard to sell. You're not going to need a 10-page sales letter to sell that. You might need some letters of authenticity, but you're going to sell that really, really easily. So I just want to really bust this myth really to smithereens before we move on to the circle of money. So, and we'll probably call back out this myth, because what happens is people will write an email and they'll say, dude, can you look at this email? I'm happy to look at emails, but I'm looking at it in a different way. I'm looking at it, who's this going to, and what's the offer you're making? Can we make this offer more clear? Can we make it at the right timing? I'm not looking at so much the words as far as it comes to sales success as I am how are we making the offer? Is the offer clear? So I don't want you guys freaking out that you have to learn some NLP or fancy sequences to make your writing work. So it takes a lot of pressure off. So I just really want to nail that. And let's go ahead and roll in to the circle of money. Again, this serves, if you're just coming in, the circle of money is going to serve as a wonderful overview for the whole course, kind of an outline. But also I use it on a daily basis to troubleshoot not only my campaigns or email campaigns or any campaigns, or just troubleshoot cash flow problems in my clients' businesses. So at this point, you want to pull out yourself a piece of paper and have a pen, or if you have something fancy you can do on your computer with one of those fancy touch screens. I got one of those, but I'm like the world's worst drawer. But you want to draw yourself a circle about 3 or 4 inches in diameter. It doesn't have to be perfectly a circle. Just do it like you do it. Nobody's going to see it. It won't end up on Facebook, hopefully, or it might. Who knows? At the very top, I want you to label it the circle of money. At the noon position, or the 12 o'clock position, let's just go ahead and write these down real quick. We'll write them all down, and then we'll come back and circle around a couple times. And of course, we'll be going deeper and deeper and deeper into these. But at the noon position, I just want you to write the word problems. I love me some problems. And you'll find out why. About the 2 o'clock position, I want you to write the word bonding, and then in parentheses right next to it, just put rapid bonding mojo. At the 4 o'clock position, roundabouts, doesn't have to be perfect, I want you to put marketing. And then in parentheses, symptomatic messaging. And if you want to, mojo. I put mojo on everything, right? Symptomatic messaging mojo. Then at the 8 o'clock position, you put sales mojo. And then in parentheses, CAP. It's actually an acronym, C-A-P. And we'll get deep into that. That stands for child, adult, parent. There's 3 programs going on in everybody's head, and most folks don't realize this, and there's a sequence you need to go through. But CAP, got a little bit deep on the detail there, which I didn't need to do that. But that's the 8 o'clock position. Then the 10 o'clock position, we put some delivery mojo. We actually deliver what we say for the problem, a solution to the problem, or a remedy to the problem. We don't have to cure the whole problem. Just depends on what promise we're making. So just as a recap here, and we're going to go deeper in there, at noon you should have problems. At 2 o'clock you should have bonding, which is rapid bonding mojo. At 4 o'clock, marketing, symptomatic messaging mojo. 8 o'clock is sales mojo, with CAP out there in parentheses. And 10 o'clock is delivery mojo. So if you've done that, awesome. Pat yourself on the back. You not have to write for a few minutes. We're going to kind of take a big overview on the circle of money here. And the first thing I want you to kind of imagine is that there's a flow that goes around the circumference. It spins. It spins around. And as the prospect spins, or if the wheel spins, however you want to imagine, it's fine. Imagine it as a pinwheel. When this starts spinning around, it's hard to determine like what's sales, what's marketing sometimes. What's marketing, where's the bonding, marketing, sales? Because it's spinning around like a pinwheel. It may be several different colors, but as it's spinning, it turns into that one color, and that's exactly what we want. If we complete all of these well, the circle of money, your money grows and grows and grows. It gets larger and larger. If we restrict or constrict at any point or multiple points, the circle of money contracts. It gets smaller. The easiest way kind of to explain this, there's lots of different ways this can happen. But let's say we get everything awesome. we got all the floodgates open, except the delivery mojo wasn't there. We did all this stuff. We found the problem. We bonded with people. We did the marketing, did the sales. They bought it, but just wasn't delivering. That's happened to some people, probably, as customers, or maybe just your product didn't go as you quite wanted it to. But what typically happens at that point is that we run out of people. We run out of people to run through the circle there, and our money contracts. We don't get referrals. People don't talk about our results, and the circle of money contracts, right? So anywhere along that point, I'm just picking on the delivery mojo right there. But I want you to get an idea. If you are connecting, if you are doing all these things, your circle of money, whether it's email, whether you're in your marketing, in your business, is going to continue to grow and grow. This makes for a wonderful troubleshooting process as well to see where things are breaking down. I won't get real deep into the troubleshooting because we'll have that later on. We're troubleshooting an email campaign, trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening. Where are we breaking down? But it makes for a wonderful troubleshooting model. One of the things I really want to point out, and it's a huge paradigm shift for folks, especially for a lot of marketing in general. Marketing can be can seem really complicated. And I've had people come to me, I went to school for 4 years on marketing. I never had a clearer view of what marketing is as you've given me, Travis. So I'm very humble, and my ego really likes that. All at the same time, I really want to kind of call out these differences between marketing and sales, and we're going to come back to this. But let's go back for a second. We're not going to go deep into all of these, but I just want to kind of give you a heads up of what's coming, and then we're going to go deep as we go into the course. But problems, love problems. Problems are currency, right? Money, I don't view money as the dollars sitting in my bank account. I view money as problems. Other people's wants, desires, challenges, and me finding a problem that I enjoy solving for people I enjoy solving it for. And as the circle of money grows, that enjoyment usually turns into fulfillment, and that fulfillment can turn into love, and boy, it just gets really awesome at that point. But the next part is bonding, and almost everybody gets bonding incorrect. For those that don't know me that well, I've done very, very well in the relationship space. I really studied relationships and bonding and rebonding after I call it suddenly single, after a breakup, and how do you rebond? So we're going to put some focus on the bonding aspect, because when somebody has a problem, where do they usually go first? They go to somebody they like, know, and trust, and that they feel like can solve that problem for them. The thing that just lights me on fire is that Mother Nature made bonding to be irresistible. It's a really, really simple process. It's irresistible. Mother Nature wanted it that way so that babies would bond with their mothers, and mothers would bond with their babies, and brothers would bond with their sisters, and people would just bond with people, right? And so it's a very, very simple process that most people miss. And they try to get it by delivering voluminous amounts of content, which friends aren't really made by dropping off a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas every single day. As a matter of fact, after a while it becomes annoying, right? What we are into is value, yes, but how we achieve that is email mojo men and women is completely different than most of the market. But that's the bonding. And then we're going to roll into marketing, symptomatic messaging. I view, and we're going to come back to this paradigm over and over and in different ways, but if you imagine golf and you're at the tee, it's your first, again, I'm not a horrible sports guy. Somebody said, Travis, you really need to learn the golf terms if you're going to use golf as a metaphor. But when you're at the tee and you're on your first stroke and you're hundreds of yards away, that is the marketing. Your golf ball is on a tee 300 or 400 yards away. The drive is your marketing. And sales is your putting. When you pull out your putters, sales is your putting and marketing is your drive. Getting these two confused or not understanding what I call where your conversion golf ball is has lots of symptoms. Working too hard on the sales, not being able to make bigger ticket stuff without getting on the phone, and all kinds of stuff we're going to come in and look at. But marketing is the drive. And then, yes, we go into sales and putting can be a little bit challenging. The better our marketing is, the closer we can get that ball to the hole, the less we need to rely on the sales, right? If we can get the ball right up to the hole, so half the ball is just hanging over the cup, then we could get a monkey to tap it in, right? So as we roll into on the circle with the sales, we're going to cover CAP, which is pretty new material for everybody, and I always see the lights come on like, holy crap, why didn't anybody ever explain this before? But it's child, adult, parent. Also in the sales is where we're going to be focusing the sales areas. We're going to be focusing on our actual promotions, the Rainmaker campaign, and all of our different campaigns. Again, even though a lot of it's marketing, bonding, marketing, all that stuff, we're moving the ball closer to the hole. But this sets up the stage really, really well for kind of where we're focusing and the big paradigm shift that I want you to have. I'm going to use some contrasting examples here. When we don't know where our conversion golf ball is, when we don't know where our golf ball really stands, we have a tendency to lean towards the sale side, just like brute force, right? And we end up with our putter 400 yards away, whacking at the ball and wondering why it never goes in. Or somebody else said earlier, you know, if you're 40 yards away from the hole, that's a hard putt to make, right? So what I'm going to be really focusing on with you guys is using bonding and marketing to move the ball much, much closer to the hole for all of our list, for all the balls on our list, right? Much, much closer to the hole so we can just tap, 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 tap stuff in. This is why we can get away with what I call the G3 order form. We can sell $500, $1,000, $2,000, $4,000 products with nothing more than email and an order form without, and again, I'm not against a VSL, I'm not against webinars. These are all have their places and they can fit in. But when we understand where the conversion golf ball is, we can be more efficient and have different ways to play the game. In Big Ticket Email Mojo, we focus on big ticket stuff because in a sense, the bigger the ticket, the farther we are away from the hole. But what I've understood is if I can show you how to sell 1,000, 2,000, and on up products using nothing but email and your order form, selling $97 products is simple. It's so easy. Or anything in between. It's like if you can bench press 225 pounds, of course you can bench press 50 pounds, right? So we focus on the big ticket. I'm going to be focusing on offers. If you don't have a big ticket, I think there are really no newbies here. Most of us are experienced, pretty much seasoned business people. So I think most of us have offers in the $500-ish range. But if we don't, we do spend a lot of time on offers. But what I really, really want you to see that's going to be a major paradigm shift, and maybe you won't get it all right now, is where's the damn golf ball? So here's the way a lot of people, and this is one model. I don't like to use right or wrong, right? There's a hammer and a screwdriver. A hammer's not better tool than a screwdriver. It's just a different tool in what you're doing. But here's the way I see most people handling their audiences, and of course we're talking about email. But what they try to do is they say, oh, here's an offer. I'm going to send it out to my list. And they're very, very heavy on the sales. So what ends up happening is, yes, they do make sales, but only to the people on their list where they're close to the hole already, right? So, you know, let's say the Facebook 2000 course, the Facebook 2100 course comes out, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to promote that. Awesome. So they promote that for a few days, and they get all the golf balls that are around the hole in, right? And they're like, they do that, and they're like, oh, that was a good promotion, but it's done now. And in essence, what they end up doing is they say, okay, so what's next, right? What am I going to promote now? Well, we did Facebook. Let's do an Instagram, right? And then they get all the golf balls that are kind of around the Instagram. And sometimes there might be some overlapping. The guy bought a Facebook one, now he's going to buy an Instagram one. And they kind of go on in this vein until all the golf balls are in the hole, right? And then pretty soon they're saying, oh, my list isn't responsive anymore because they've tried all the different offers. They've knocked in all the golf balls that were close to the hole. And they might try some other stuff. And if there's something really, really different, then like, oh, there's some more golf balls there, right? And those go in the hole. And again, that's one way of doing it. You're going to have lots more longevity, though, and more flexibility and freedom if you embrace the idea of marketing is to move the conversion golf ball closer and closer to the hole for as many people on the list as you can, regardless if you're doing one product, two products, three products, right? Most of my Mojo men and Mojo women don't have more than 4 or 5 core offers. Some of them only have one, and they continue to convert over and over and over and over again because we're continually moving the conversion golf ball closer and closer to the hole with every communication, regardless of the ticket size, right? Understand that it doesn't matter if it's a $100 offer or a $5,000 offer. Yes, there may be more distance in between, But it's the same principles. We'll drive and drive until the golf ball hits the hole, but the golf ball is close to the hole, and then we can just focus on tapping it in. This also allows for maximum conversion of everybody who would convert. I've converted 20, 25, 30% of my entire list sometimes on the continuity programs. Do I do all that in 5 emails? Do I do all that in a month? Absolutely not, right? It's the same thing. I knock all the balls that are close to the hole in, but then I'm continually moving the conversion golf balls closer and closer to the hole over time. And they always move. It's predictable. Marketing is leverageable. It's awesome. So always and people worry sometimes. They go, oh, well, I'm going to go hungry. I'll go hungry if I wait till all the marketing golf balls are at the hole. That's why we focus on rapid bonding and symptomatic messaging, because we can actually swiftly move those balls from the drive to the hole in a very swift manner. And always have balls that are close to being knocked into the hole. I'm pausing for a second for 2 reasons. One, so I can get a little sip of iced coffee. And one, so I can just let that sit with you and let your brain work on that for a second. When we understand this paradigm shift, this understanding, it's kind of like flat world, round world. I've had clients that come out with what we consider really tiny lists with 1 or 2 offers and do $55,000 the next month. That's like a list of under 1,000 people, just moving that conversion golf ball closer and closer to the hole. We have so much more mileage in our offers than we think. It's one of my favorite things in my agency. I run an agency where I do done for you. Basically rainmaker campaigns. That's the first date that we have. But typically it's like, hey, what I want to know, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. I want to know, hey, what did you sell last year? What did you sell in the 6 months that sold really well? And they tell me, I'm like, oh, great. How much you sell that? Oh, I'm just making up a number now, but $100K. Awesome. What have you sold it since then? Nope. Cool. Why don't we sell that again, right? I'll reposition it. We'll position it differently with a different angle. And we end up selling as much, if not more, as they did the first time, right? You're like, holy crap. And you know what? You can do that again and again and again and again and again. Repositioning different ways. So, we're going to get deeper onto this. Here's the paradigm shift is what I'm wanting you to get right now. Oh my God, okay. This changes everything. This opens up everything, right? It also means that if we send an email on a brand new offer and we're moving we're taking our first swing at it, we're not going to always hit a hole in one, right? We approach it more strategically, right? Some of you guys might have saw the Facebook post I made where we're doing a $4,000 offer, and my clients are, holy crap, dude, we've sent like 4 emails and no sales yet. I'm like, hold on, man. Chill. We're driving it down the fairway, right? The bigger the offer, kind of the farther away you are from the hole. And that's no biggie. It's methodical. We can make it methodical. We were getting the right signs. People were saying the right things as we're going on. We had our finger on the pulse. Is kind of stuff I'm going to show you guys how to do. But then the balls got close to the hole and drop. Those $4,000 sales went. Most people would have given up after 1 or 2 emails with no sales. But by understanding, where's the conversion golf ball? Where it be? Where it at? Like, okay, we're still on target. We're still on target. We're still on target, right? And sometimes you might slice off a little bit into the rough, and you might need to bring it back, and that's cool. We can do that too. But we got so much more flexibility and power, right? So we know exactly where the ball's at. So that is the circle of money overview. We're actually doing pretty good on the time here. And again, we're going to come back. If you're feeling a little bit shaky or like, hey, maybe I didn't get this insight like I'm not as excited as Travis seems to be about it, that's okay. This is just the overview. We're going to be coming in. We're going to be working these angles and going deep into this. So do not fear. So now, I have that circle of the money. The beauty of a circle is we can start anywhere we want to. Now, I could start up at the problems at 12 o'clock, but I found the best place to start is in an area where it puts your fanny right on the bicycle seat and gets us moving down the road. So it's kind of be like the training wheels at first. You're kind of not really going to know. It's like, what's this for? What's that gadget for? And that's okay. But we're going to roll into the triangle of insight. Now, insight is one of the most important words for an email mojo man or woman, and I'm not going to tell you why right now, because you don't need to know how the light switch works right now. I want to focus on just showing you where the light switch is and how you flip it on and off and getting you comfortable with it. But you will need your pen and paper again. This time, instead of a circle, we're going to draw a triangle. At the very top, label it the triangle of insight. Now, kind of where this triangle of insight kind of goes, again, when the circle is moving around, it's like a pinwheel. But the triangle of insight is kind of the intersection between bonding and marketing. It's a lot of our marketing once we get into more, but this is our main, and again, I hate to use martial arts because we do not want to make marketing and sales an opponent or an opposition. We do this beside somebody. We do it on the same side of the table they are. But this is like the main move, right? This is like learning how to ride the bike with the training wheels, the regular bike, and then you can move into the 10 speeds and the 18 speeds and get fancy with it. But for right now, I just want you to get your butt on the bike and give you a bike that you can start to ride right now and get results that you get to be like, hey, it's still funny when you get the training wheels on to have the wind through your hair, right? You're still making improvements. Let's do the labeling first, and then we'll do like we did with the circle and come back around. On the lower left corner, for now, there's other stuff we can put on there, but for now, I just want you to put the word symptom. On the upper tip, I want you to put the word wisdom. Wisdom. I said that kind of blurry. Wisdom, like knowledge. Wisdom. W-I-S-D-O-M. I don't know why I had that word's not coming out of my mouth right now, but wisdom. And in the lower right-hand corner, we're going to actually put 3 words. Metaphor, story, or analogy. And somewhere around there, I want you to point to it and say common. Common metaphor, story, or analogy. And then out from the metaphor angle or corner, the little point where the 2 lines come together and make the point. Well, you can tell it's been a while since I've taken my trigonometry. I'd like you to draw a line out there. It can just be an inch or 2 inches, and just put that's why. Slant, the real problem is. So because we're going out of order, I'm going to have to do some explanation. Not really going out of order. We're just picking where we want on the circle there to start with this triangle of insight. But let's go to the lower left-hand corner, symptom. Let's talk about what this means for a minute. If you guys grasp this, and this is one of the things we'll work on and work on and work on, but if you guys grasp this, you guys will like immediately improve not only the enjoyment that people get of your emails, but your sales will go 2, 3, 4 times higher. So what a lot of marketers do and a lot of copywriting things, we're getting kind of good at coming up with problems people have and maybe even frustrations and drawing really fuzzy pictures, right? Drawing really fuzzy pictures. So, hey, are you frustrated with your business? Being frustrated with your business is not a symptom. We want to get down to symptoms. Symptoms, the way I put it, symptoms are something you can see, hear, taste, touch, something you can point a finger to, something you can point at. If you can't see it, hear it, feel it, taste it, touch it, probably not a symptom. So instead of saying frustrated, what's frustrating about the business? Well, I'm working too long. Okay, if you had to make a movie, here's my other trick. If you had to make a movie out of this, how would you make the scene, right? How would you make a scene? If you were the movie producer or the director, just saying, oh, I'm frustrated in my business, I'm always at work, that's going to make for a really, really boring scene, right? But a scene where mom is racing through rush hour traffic because she was kept at the office again, and her son is starring in the soccer game, and she's racing to try to get there in time. That's a scene you can see, right? That may be a symptom, right? So the symptom might be missing kids' games, missing kids' soccer games, right? That would be more of a symptom. If somebody's been having chest pains and you're a doctor, you don't say, oh, you've been having chest pains, is it frustrating? Is it painful? I know how painful it is, right? Immediately you're going to try to start doing some diagnosis. You can say, are you having pressure in your left arm? Are you feeling lightheaded? He's going to be looking for the symptoms. He's looking for those different symptoms. So we want to look for the symptom, not a problem. And let's face it, sometimes I'll get lazy or I just can't come up with something, so we'll just go with the problem, right? But way more powerful is a symptom. And kind of the way I look at it too is I look at an audience out there. If I was standing in front of an audience, how would I get them to raise their hands? It's easier to raise your hand for a symptom than it is for a problem, right? How many of you guys aren't making the money that you would like, right? It's hard to raise your hand to, right, in front of everybody. It's easier when you're doing email, right? I was just working on a campaign where me and the copywriter were talking. They said, well, they're behind on their retirement plan. Yeah, but how? That's okay, but how? That's not really symptomatic. Behind on your retirement plan. How does that look? What's the symptoms? What are they seeing? What's happening presently? Just letting them know they're behind on their retirement plan. What's the pain that they're in, right? And how is that showing up? Well, maybe every time a big expense comes in, right? Ooh, that's better, right? A big expense comes in, you worry about your retirement plan. We want to get symptomatic. It's so much more powerful. People that raise their hand like, oh, I'm going to give you some examples here when we run through this. Saying, are you tired of your are you tired of getting, are you tired of Facebook? Are you tired of not making it work on Facebook? What are they seeing, right? Hey, did you get another disapproved ad notice from Facebook? Way more power. They're gonna mash down on that, mash it down, if that's them. If it's not them, they're not gonna mash it down. That's totally cool. You'll see it's part of the magic that we do is with our email mojo. What's another thing if somebody's frustrated with their Facebook that they might be getting? Maybe low relevance scores, right? If you've got relevance scores underneath under 5, they can raise their hands like, holy crap! How'd you know? That's something they can see. That's something they can point to. And we're going to go real deep on this symptom thing. But for right now, I just want you kind of to fixate on, is this something they can see? Is this something they can feel? Is this something they can point to? Don't worry about getting your whole list open. It's one of the big myths we're going to be breaking. It's way more powerful to use 5 different symptoms in 5 separate emails than it is to try to come up with one blobby, amalgamous subject line that gets more people to open but nobody to buy. We want people to buy with their hair on, to open the email with like their hair on fire. Like, oh my God, that's me, right? I've never been able to take an open rate to my bank and cash that. So symptoms, think symptoms. Wisdom, let's go up to the top on wisdom. We're going to come back around several times, so let's go to the top about wisdom. Wisdom does not mean 7 steps or 8 tips. Those are okay sometimes. It gets people attention. and I'm not going to get into a big thing about the insight right now, but that's not what we're looking for here, and you'll understand what deeper later on. All we're looking for is, if you're the subject matter expert, is how are they looking at their problem now, and if they looked at it a little bit differently, how would it help solve their problem? Help solve their problem, or shed new light on the problem. Looking for little, it doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be, I call it little nuggets of wisdom, right? It can be a small little shift. The reason why I don't like 7 tips or the 3 secrets or all that is, honestly, of all the internet and all the ads you clicked and all the books that you've read, how many 7 tips can you remember? How many 3 tips? Can anybody? I don't even know. I think I can remember Marlon Sanders. Find a starving crowd, find out what they're hungry for, and give it to them. I think that's the only. That's because I did it over and over and over and over again, right? But how many times can you say, wow, this person fundamentally, or even a little bit, shifted the way I looked at this problem? It's like, I thought about it this way, and then he showed me this way, right? It's like, holy crap. So what we want to do is find that little bit of wisdom. Doesn't have to be big. Just has to be a little bit of wisdom. Really great example. One of my Mojo men, it's in my mastermind, named John Tarr. When we were kind of doing this thing, he's like, well, most people think they need to have they need to be really great at selling stuff. Now, his particular offer was on click arbitrage, right? So he's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what the wisdom is. I'm like, dude, the wisdom is they don't have to know it. For this particular offers, they don't have to know how to sell anything, right? Hey, so we started with the symptom, right? Hey, can't sell anything. Basically, can't make anything work. We can't sell anything. That was not very good, but I'm going back to the wisdom. It's like, hey, if you're not good at sales, you don't have to be great at sales with click arbitrage, right? That was the wisdom. And then in the lower right, we have the metaphor, story, analogy. What we want to do with this is tie it all together. We want to tie the symptom that they're having kind of with the problem and give them a little bit of different shed of light on the problem in a really fun way, using a common metaphor, story, or analogy. So the first thing that I do and have my students do is just fill out this triangle for an email. When you get good enough, again, it's kind of like riding a bike. You might want to use it at first, right? Just figure out, okay, what's the symptom? What's the wisdom I want to give them? And what's a metaphor that I can use to title it? Don't worry about the email yet, right? Find out the symptom, the wisdom, and the metaphor. Put all those down, and the email will go a lot faster in writing it itself. I'm going to give you guys some examples here. Some helpful things on the metaphor, story, or analogy is pick a person, pick a place, pick a time, pick a thing, pick a dream, pick a TV show, pick music, any of those things, right? Kind of the metaphorical muscle we'll build is kind of the ability to take almost anything and apply it to any particular situation. Again, when you first start off, this is not, you're got the training wheels on, it's going to be shaky, and it's not going to be that easy for you. You'll be like, damn you, Travis, why? You said this is going to be not hard, right? You said I could write an email in 15, 20 minutes. And you will be able to. You'll even be able to use no hands at some point, right? You can leave a part off the triangle when you really, really know what you're doing. But for now, let's just do it color by numbers. So let me give you some examples. Let me use some relationship examples because I'm chock full of those. Just example 1. So we'll start with the problem, right? But we're going to move it to a symptom. So one of my subscriber lists that we're going to kind of come back to over and over again, and I call them my women, and hopefully that's okay. But her name's Elizabeth. That's, by the way, if I could buy a name of Elizabeth, I'd be rich. Liz, Lisa, that's my #1 name. But Elizabeth may be in a relationship, and she's feeling like, man, she may be in it for a couple of years, and she's feeling, or this particular Elizabeth, right? I have different Elizabeths on my list in different stages of the relationship cycle. But who I want to focus on here, who I want to get the email, is Elizabeth that's in a relationship, but she feels like the passion is dwindling away or is going away. Now, could I put in the subject line, we're not really getting to the structure yet, but could I put down the lower hand corner in the symptom, passion fading? That's really not very good. If I was in a rush and had to do something, yes, I would rather just call out a problem, but we can make it so much better. What is it that they're seeing? What is it they're experiencing to let them know that the passion is fading from their relationship? There's probably 1,000 different symptoms, right? And this is what makes this email mojo so powerful, is because we can hit on one symptom after the next symptom after the next symptom and the same offer or just core of offers, right? But let's kind of get ahead of myself. Let's cut it down. So we're kind of like, she's feeling lack of passion. How does that show up? Well, one way it could show up is, let's just call her boyfriend Tom. Say Tom hasn't kissed her longer than 2 seconds in a very, very long time, right? So he doesn't kiss me like he used to kiss me, right? It's about a kiss, right? That's something that we can make a movie out of, kiss, right? Something we can make a movie out of. There's lots of different ways we could say it, but we're getting closer, right? It's something they can see. We could say the pecks on the cheek, right? The pecks on the cheek. Now, I wish I would have come up with this. Sometimes your symptoms will come from, we go deeper into symptoms and where to get them. We'll go into this. But this brilliant one did not come from me. It came from one of my subscribers who was writing and telling me about what her life's like. And she said, it's like he kisses me like he's my grandpa. I'm like, oh, that's so good, right? Now, it would have been okay. It would have been okay if I would have started with a thing that says pecks on the cheek, right? That'd be an okay symptom. It'd be a lot better than the passion fading. Pecks on the cheek is way better than the passion fading, right? This passion fading, the pecks on the cheek, she's like, oh my God, that's him, that's Tom, right? That's Tom, oh my God. Now, I spiced it up a little bit because, or just made it more meaningful. It said, if he kisses you like your grandpa. By the way, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but very often it's the symptom that we put in the subject line. If you haven't gathered that, when we get into homework, we're going to cover that. So let's just say in the lower left-hand corner is grandpa kisses. And what's the wisdom that I want to give them? Well, the kind of the wisdom I want, and I give, again, there's various pieces of wisdom, right? So you take 1,000 symptoms, you take, 24 different pieces of wisdom, and now you've got, I don't know what my math is off there, but you've got only like 10,000, 20,000 emails that you could write promoting one product, right? Or a core of products. But here's the wisdom that I want to give them, is that sometimes it's not about the passion is fading, just men don't know any better. Is that the greatest piece of wisdom I can give them? Probably not, but it's okay. Sometimes it's just men don't know any better. So now we move down to the metaphor, story, or analogy. And I actually did write an email with all these pieces, so I'm kind of cheating, but the earliest thing I remember as a kid with kisses, this again makes for a great email, but the earliest thing I remember as a kid is watching Gone with the Wind. And I remember I wasn't particularly that interested in Gone with the Wind, but I knew there was a line in there where Rhett Butler said, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And I just wanted, cussing back in the day on TV was not done very often. It is all the time now. But I wasn't really interested in the story. I just wanted to hear Rhett Butler, who's Clark Gable, say those lines. But one of the things that stood out to me in that movie, and I'll never forget this conversation I had with my mom, because I don't know how old I was, probably 6 or 7 at the time, was when they kissed each other. They kissed each other for a long time. And I'm like, man, that's gross. Why would anybody do that? And I'm asking my mom, and she's like, "Well, it's just kind of like what you do." And I couldn't really grasp my mind around it. When a man and a woman are really like each other and they're in love, they kiss longer. I'm like, okay, right? And I said, well, those were like movie star kisses. So the movie star kisses in my mind where they put their faces together and they kind of move their head back and forth, right? And I call them movie star kisses. In that lower right-hand corner, it's going to be my movie star, my Gone with the Wind movie star kiss, right? It's kind of how I'm going to pull all this together. Lower left, grandpa kisses, the wisdom, men don't always know any better. And in the lower right-hand corner is movie star kisses. So I want you to kind of do the same things. We're kind of talking about your homework, rolling into your homework. Don't worry about putting it all together yet. We're going to kind of cover that here. We're not going to cover every piece, but we're just going to give you the bike with the training wheels. But put those pieces together. What's the symptom? What's the wisdom? What's the metaphor? And you want to do it in that order. Again, as you get more fancy with this, you can start anywhere. You can start with a story, work up to the wisdom, and then what symptom does that solve. But for right now, start in the lower left-hand corner. What's the wisdom? And then what's the metaphor, story, or analogy? Let me give you another example, and then we'll tie this together in kind of like an ad hoc email. So let's say I'm going to focus on a different Elizabeth. So here's the thing I want you to get, right? Same list, but I'm working on a different golf ball. Let's say we want to focus on an Elizabeth that doesn't have a guy yet. She's just kind of dating right now. She's looking for it. She's dating, right? And the problem is the uncomfortableness of dating, right? But that's a problem. That's not a symptom, right? How is that showing up? How does that show up in their life? We're going to make a movie out of it, or make something that shows up, something they can see, feel, hear, taste, touch. How would that show up? So this is not particularly brilliant, and that's the thing. It doesn't have to be particularly brilliant. It just has to be a symptom that they can raise their hand to. So I'm going to pick butterflies in your tummy before a date. Butterflies in your tummy before a date? Yeah. I could go with tongue tied on the first dinner date. I go with a lot of different symptoms, right? There's probably thousands of different symptoms. So in this particular example, my wisdom, what I want, your focus is too much on yourself. Put your focus on him. She's misdirecting her focus. She's putting all of the focus. How am I sounding? How am I looking? Do I look smart? Do I look the way I want to look? Does he think I'm intelligent? She's putting too much focus on herself. The metaphor, or the story, or the analogy, is a time when my grandma taught me how to carry my bowl of Fruit Loops. You're like, what the hell? This is what makes this fun, right? This is what makes us so compelling. People enjoy reading this, and here's why. So when I was a little guy, I would go over to my grandma's house for the summer, and they lived in Huntington Beach, California, and had a pretty big house comparatively to what it seemed like. It seemed to me, but they had a dining room that was separate from the kitchen, right? In our house, the dining room and kitchen were all together, but a dining room was separate from the kitchen. And I would pour a bowl of Fruit Loops, like many kids do. I'd fill the bowl up. By the time I got the milk in there, it's like you got to do this balancing act, right? Not to spill your Fruit Loops. So I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to leave you with that little cliffhanger right there. It's a big old cliffhanger, right? And come back to that as we're kind of putting these emails together. But so for right now, kind of the step is fill out the triangle of insight. Now, this is broad stroke writing the email. There's some nuances. I'm going to give you more later on. But for right now, you can write a wonderful email that will connect with people and that will sell product just by doing what I'm showing you now. And we'll talk about here in a minute what product you should sell and conversion golf ball and everything. But here's what I want you to do as a continuation of your homework. You can be writing this email. So whatever symptom you pick, make that your subject line. You might have to massage it a little bit to make sense. But just put that symptom, make it your subject line. Now I want you to open the email by restating the problem or restating the symptom. Restating the symptom in another way. So, for our example, let's say we said butterflies in your tummy before a date might be the subject line. So I might say, and we could even restate what we just said, right? Hey, are you going out on the first date or hate those first dates where you have the butterflies in your stomach and you get all tongue-tied and dry-mouthed and your palms are sweating before the date? Again, making a movie, palms sweating, tongue-tied. Then we go into the metaphor. So we're going to work backwards now. When I had you fill out the triangle of insight, we went from symptom to wisdom to metaphor. So we start with the symptom. Now we're going to work backward to the metaphor, and then we're going to kind of give them they're going to understand. They're implicitly going to see the wisdom, which again is going to do a lot for us. Again, I'm not telling you all the nuances on this until later on. This is going to do a lot for us, but we're going to work backwards now. So we open up. The subject line is the symptom. We open up by restating the symptom and giving them another one. Then we go right into the metaphor, okay? After we get done with the metaphor, we kind of like call out the moral of the story if we have to, right? This is the wisdom part. And then we say, that's the reason why, or the real problem is, and then we kind of go on to the offer. But we're going to pause here for a second. And let's just use what we've got, because you guys are going to have different offers and such. And let me just kind of walk you through with what we've already got. So let's take our Elizabeth that has the loss of passion problem, right? So the subject line says, if he kisses you like your grandpa. And I might open up that email and say, when was the last time he took your head in both hands and he kissed you tenderly and passionately for longer than 2 seconds? Be a great way to start it up, right? Oh, it's been a while, right? If it hasn't been, that's cool. That's totally cool. We're not worried about trying to get everybody in there. We just want the ones that have those symptoms to be passionate about those symptoms, right? So then I'm going to roll right into the metaphor, right? Because now they're hooked, right? Okay, awesome, they're hooked. So I might say, this reminds me, or just kind of like, or just kind of, again, we're going to get more nuanced, but however you want to roll it, it's just kind of like it's an easy way to roll into your metaphor. It's kind of like when I was a kid. I remember the first time I watched Gone with the Wind. I watched it with my mom, and I'm doing some character reveal there too, which is more nuances. I watched it with my mom. I wasn't particularly interested in anything that happened in Gone with the Wind. I just wanted to hear him say, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. But what really stood out to me as a 6-year-old, with my freckles and misunderstanding of the world, is why did Rhett Butler and Scarlett O'Hara kiss for so long? That's just gross. So I asked my mom, I'm like, Mom, why is that? Why do they do that? Mom's like, well, when you're in a relationship, that's just kind of like what you do. I'm sure she didn't want to go into big detail on it. Thank you, Mom. With a 6-year-old, right? I call those movie star kisses. I just like, man, nobody kisses like that unless you're in the movies. It can only be a movie star kiss. They only kiss like that in the movies, right? And men are a lot the same way. Sometimes they really don't grow up from that boy and understanding passion and love. So you may not have a passion problem. He just may not know the things that he's supposed to do, or the things that really light you on fire, right? And then it's kind of where we go into the offer, depending on where the conversion goal falls at. So I might say, so if you like to go from grandpa kisses to movie star kisses, and not sure how to get him to understand what he needs to do in a way that won't erupt into an argument or a big sit down with we need to talk, then that's where we roll into the offer, again, depending on what the conversion golf ball is. If we have a VSL, then we want the VSL. We can just let the VSL do most of the driving, right? If we're sending them to just a G3 order form or something, then we're going to have to go on a little bit longer, right? We want to do a little bit more driving there. But this makes our emails fun to write fun to read, and they have an internal epiphany about their problem, which moves that insight, moves that conversion golf ball faster and farther than anything I've ever used, whether it got in emails. And I've had people using this in advertorials. They're taking their emails and just using them in advertorials or using it as landing pages now. I've done the same. But don't let the simplicity, the worst thing you could be saying to yourself is this can't be that simple. And go ahead and write a few of these first, because you will, like, the handlebars will be shaking, you know, and you're not going to feel sure on your feet. But if you do it a couple times, that's why I want to give this to you now so you can start getting comfortable with it. You'll get better and better at it. And before you know it, it's going to be like boom, boom, boom. You're going to have fun. They're going to have fun. You're going to be making lots of money. Let's go on to the second example, just to kind of help you. So our symptom, which is going to be our headline, butterflies in your tummy before a date, that's not a bad subject line. Is it going to get the whole list open? No, we don't want it to. That's another myth I really, really want to break. Butterflies in your tummy before a date? So I might open it up. Those first dates can be nerve-wracking, can't they? You got butterflies in your tummy. Your palms start to sweat. What else? You get tongue-tied. So I want to share with you a little lesson that my grandma shared with me. When I was a kid, I lived with in the summers we'd go visit Grandpa and Grandma. They lived in Huntington Beach. It was a great time in my life. Every morning I'd get up and pour myself a bowl of Fruit Loops or some type of sugary cereal, and I would proceed to spill it all the way across from the kitchen to the dining room. My grandma was a very patient soul, so thank goodness. But one morning she saw me, and she thought, Travie, that was my nickname. Travie, don't look at the bowl. I'm like, Grandma, come on. You got to look at the bowl. But if you don't look at the bowl, how are you to keep from spilling? I'm already spilling it as it is. If I don't look at the bowl, I'm going to spill it more. She thought, just try it. Just give it a try. So I did. I didn't look at the bowl. I looked where I was going. And wouldn't you know, I got my bowl of Fruit Loops from the kitchen all the way to the dining room. I didn't spill one Fruit Loop. See, my grandma was wise enough to know that if I put my focus on the bowl, I would overcorrect. If I saw the milk going one way, I'd move it back to I would overcorrect. If I just focus on where I was going, if I focus somewhere else on getting where I was going, my body's natural balance and rhythm would take care of the bowl. And those first dates are the same way. The reason you feel nervous, the reason you get tongue-tied and you get butterflies in your stomach, is because your focus is on yourself. When your focus is on yourself, you say something, you try to overcorrect, or you feel like it looks like one way, you try to overcorrect. And you end up spilling your dating Fruit Loops all over the dinner table. So now I can roll into that's why, or the real problem is. The real problem is, how do you take your focus off yourself and put it on him? One of the simplest ways to do that is with questions, right? And I might dive into a little bit, but don't ask questions like, what do you do for a living? That puts him on the defensive. For the prospect reading this, I'm opening up a new problem, right? So I've given her a new perspective. Now, with her new perspective, she can see a new problem. Okay, great. I'm going to take the focus off myself, put it on him, but now what do I do? And then I'm going to lead her into my product, right? That's why we put together, that's why I just come across the 100 questions for new couples. These are great questions you can ask that he'll love to answer. I'll give you a bigger insight to who he really is without him feeling like he's grilled and interviewed. Boom. So I've left out the nuance. There's some nuances. But if you put this triangle of insight together and do your homework, that will be good enough for now. And so the key question now, and we're going to roll into the Q&A here pretty quick. Key question now is like, what do I promote? Do I promote something? Absolutely promote something. Here's what I'd love for you to promote. It's something that that's already sold well in the past, whether it's yours or something else. Somewhere where their conversion golf ball is already close to the hole, right? Think about how close are they to purchasing already. Have I talked about this multiple times? That means there's probably some conversion golf balls close to the hole. So ideally, what I would like you to promote is something that everybody knows that you already have, but maybe just they haven't made that decision to buy it yet. And you're going to hit a symptom that makes them raise their hand like, holy crap, that's what I've been waiting for. Boom. Then I want you to take a look at what mechanism are you using. And that's like, what putter? You know, do you have a putter? Or do you have a long drive, right? Are you sending them to a webinar? If you're sending it to a webinar, that's like a driver, right? Because you're trying to take them farther. It's not just a putt. So make your email shorter if that's the case, right? Get them, what you're really selling is watching the webinar. So you're not selling a product, you're selling watching, give them, how's their life going to be different once they watch this webinar or watch this VSL. And by the way, I never hardly call out a webinar or VSL or whatever it is. I just say, hey, if you have this problem and you have these symptoms, this will help you, right? If it's something that they already know about, you just have an order form, just try sending it to an order form. Even if it's just like, here's the product, here it is, boom, and try one of these emails. So you kind of want to, where's the conversion? If it's a brand new thing you've just launched and you're just trying to send them to an order form, don't expect any or many sales at all. But if it's something they kind of already know about and you have some type of sales mechanism in there, or if you don't, then you can make the email that while you're doing is adding the pitch inside the email. Then do that. Preferably, what I'd like is if you already have an offer, it doesn't have to be a $500 offer. 97 is fine. Just something. What I want you really to do is write the email, give them a link, and just get you familiar with this process, with the triangle of insight. So great. I'm just going to do a real quick review. Then we're going to open this baby up for Q&A. Did really good on time today, a little bit longer than I was wanting. So we went over one of the big myths is the writing itself is only 10% of the sales success. Not saying it's not important, but as Email Mojo, men and women, we want to do something different with the writing, and that's the bonding and moving, getting them to want to open our communications. We went over the circle of money. I would have you guys study that a little bit just so you're familiar with the different positions because we're going to be talking about it, and I want to kind of be in your mind. So we got problems, bonding, marketing, sales, and delivery. That's all there is to it. Problems, bonding, marketing, sales, delivery. And then the triangle of insight. This is such a useful tool. We didn't go into all the whys, and we don't need to, and there's more we're going to fill in there. The triangle of insight, lower left corner, symptom. Top, wisdom. Right-hand corner, metaphor, story, analogy. Person, place, or thing. Music, song, TV show. Just about anything. But make sure it's common. Don't start talking about E equals MC squared. This is the same thing as covalent bonds in chemistry. We want it easy enough for a sixth grader to understand. And your homework is to go through. I know we don't have any inexperienced business people, so I know you guys have lots and lots and lots of spare time. But at least do one of these. At least get one of these triangle of insights, write the email, and send it out. If you can do more, that's awesome. I know one of the first questions is people are like, hey, do you have any examples you can show me? Do you have any templates? And guys, I have got samples and examples and templates and troubleshooting stuff out of the wazoo. But I don't want to give it to you yet because what happens is we lean on it, right? And you can't learn to ride a bike out of a book or a template, right? So I will give those to you, but for right now, I want you to get your butt on the bike, and you're not going to kill yourself, I promise. It'll be uncomfortable. It might take you a little bit while longer than you would like, but just set your stop clock, right? 45 minutes. 45 minutes, especially after you got your triangle of insight, and just pump out that first email. Then set the clock a little bit back, a little bit closer, 40 minutes, 35, 30. You actually get to where you do these in 15, 20 minutes for what we call nurture and pick, a little bit longer if we're running it inside of a campaign. But guys, the payoff is 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 or $5,000 sales every single day. And then we can roll them into the Rainmaker campaigns and make oodles of those. We're going to kind of go over those metaphors, but you got to get this down to some level. You don't have to be a master at it. You don't have to be like Karate Kid with it, but just get comfortable with it.